Yes.
Okay. Okay, so the first thing, let's go to the text first. There are a couple things to show. Okay, so here we are in the text. So we'll read through and then we'll discuss. So we'll go back a little to what we did the last time and then we'll go forward. Again, however, if all these were the fraudulent devices of enchanters, how is it possible that things which are in the most eminent degree united to the gods and goddesses, which also conjoin us with them and have powers all but equal to those of superior beings, should be fantastic devices, though without them no sacred operation can be effected? But neither, and then Porphyry is going to speak, or Porphyry, he's going to quote Porphyry, but neither do these veils by which arcana are concealed originate from our passions, which rumor, and then we have to go to the hardcover because the again, the scanning didn't work well here. So the last words, which rumor for beginning not from our passions, but on the contrary from things allied to the gods and goddesses, we make use of words adapted to them. And then Porphyry is going to speak, nor do we frame conceptions of a divine nature contrary to its real mode of substance. And Ab Amon is going to reply, but conformably to the nature which it possesses, and to the truth concerning it, which those obtained who first established the laws of sacred religion, we preserve in our conceptions of divinity. So we're going to first deal with this issue of but them and have powers all but equal to those of superior beings, should be fantastic devices, though without them no sacred operations can be effected. And what he's saying here is that this text, these words of power that are referred to as entail, are not simply words that are chanted to pacify the human need for action or to do things or to perform worship, some kind of worship to an entity. And since they have an effect, they are not fraudulent. They're not fraudulent devices. And the effects that they have are psychodynamic, meaning they have an effect on the mind and these subtle portions of the human spirit, of the spirit continuum. such as the Ka and the Ab. And that if these formulas are recited in a proper mode with proper intention related to the philosophy of the text, that a human being can become godlike through virtue and scientific means aligning themselves to the gods and goddesses. Godlike means lack of negative emotional content, lack of desire, lack of violence or violent tendencies, and calm, a deep, profound calm. And in a metaphysical sense, the power to exist in the netherworld, which is referred to as the Dua, which the book of the Amduat addresses these issues profoundly. So these words of power have an effect, a psychophysiological effect on the mind and the subtle body of a human being. And because it has such effect, they can't said to be, fraudulent devices. And this goes to the three aspects of religion: myth, ritual, mysticism, and also metaphysics. That if you don't have a mystic process, then your entire system is suspect. If you have a myth and you have a ritual, but you don't have metaphysics, which is a precursor to mysticism, then there is a kind of a fraudulent nature to the process, because it doesn't lead to an effect that aligns the person with what Ab Amun refers to as superior beings or superior powers, which are the Neteru, the gods and goddesses. And although these practices were performed in ancient times, it doesn't mean that these teachings remain in ancient times. Like, some of these effects can be experienced today if the human person performs the practices and disciplines as prescribed by the sages under proper guidance of advanced personalities. You can have the same effect. The words are there, the texts are there, and it takes a certain personality type to draw out the philosophy and the mode of metaphysical practices to bring about the effect of the teaching. That these things are not to be done just for the sake of doing things. These things are done for the sake of aligning oneself with cosmic power and cosmic forces that leads to a transcendental experience where one discovers one's own true divine nature. And here it's not scanned well, but I'll read what we'll cover now. For beginning not from our passions. You can see part of it here. Not from our passions. And what he means by this is that these these texts, these prescriptions are not derived from human failings or human passions, greed and lust and vanity and passion for life and for living and the normal mode of psyche of a human being, but rather from a a place that is concomitant with the mission of the soul and the process of the neteru in leading that soul to its own true divine nature. Firstly, to its own divinity, meaning becoming one of those gods and goddesses. And then to the root of that divinity, that divinity has emerged from, which is the source of all divinity. And that you can refer to that as nebeter or neter, that which is a source from which the others have emerged from. And that is the spiritual program of Shetal Neter. It leads to that mystic reality. And if that is not the program, then you don't have mystical religion. And Shetal Neter is not the only mystical religion. But if you don't have, but all mystical religions have same characteristics. And if a religion does not have those characteristics, you don't have mystical religion. And if you don't have mystical religion, it means that somehow from the dogmatic perspective of non-mystical religions, it means that somehow you're separate from divinity and you're separate from the supreme essence from which divinity has emerged from. So you can never truly be one with the powers of the universe or one with the neteru. Because in faith-based religion, that those powers of cosmic nature are ignored, or they're put aside. So you can't get to those powers. And since the supreme being is so powerful and so transcendental, then it makes sense from a faith-based perspective that you cannot be equal to that supreme essence. But if you have a mystical process, then you have a step-by-step cosmic process by which one can discover that supreme essence that is so transcendental that from a normal perspective, it cannot be reached. So in the process of mystical religion is to make you supernormal so that in that supernormal condition, you can realize one's own transcendental nature. But if you have a religion that's not mystical, you don't have the steps, you don't have the intermediaries that leads to that transcendental reality that is beyond name and form. And in some aspects, that transcendental reality is corrupted to name and form. It's a God is a man in some place in the sky and is the omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient, and rules all things, etc. But if it's a supreme reality, then it has by definition, by mystic definition. It has no name and form. It's transcendental. So the mystical religious process has built into it by the sages the devices through which the the spiritual student, the initiate, can gain insight and entrance into that transcendental reality. And this is what Ab Amun is talking about here. Earlier in these, and we're nearing the end actually of this conveyance of teachings by Ab Amun. I showed the Papyrus Hunefer segment of it, and I was saying that early Egyptologists, they were cutting these papyrus papers into segments, and you had to, and to make it easier to study whatever. But if you're going to display them, firstly, they should not be cut into pieces because they are sacred writings. And if you're going to display them, they should be displayed something like this. Let's show you. This is from the Metropolitan Museum. I took this short video, which shows the length of these texts, is referred to as the Book of the Dead. And if anything, they should be displayed in this manner, if they're going to be displayed at all. And what we have here is the papyrus paper of a female initiate. Remember, I was saying these teachings, philosophy, for both male and female. And her name, her title is Asar Amundra Su Neteru Sheps Nua Ani Sesh Makeru. So Asar, witnessing consciousness of creator spirit essence, the royal among the gods and goddesses, the noble, Nua Ani, the lotus who is true of speech. That's her full title. So I'll play the video so that you can see the length of these papyrus papers. Give an idea. Of the various chapters. And this is what is referred to as the Book of the Dead. Usually when people hear Book of the Dead, this is what they're referring to. And here is the judgment scene. Is Asar at the end of the process that she goes to meet. The offering in front of Asar is a chepesh, or like a bull, which relates to expansion in consciousness. And you have Anpu at the scale. You have her heart, her ab on one end, and the blind Ma'at on the other end. You have Anpu measuring and working the plum. Then you have Jehuti in his baboon form at the top, at the apex of the scale. The recorder of the deeds. And you have her, the spiritual initiate, here. And behind her is the great goddess, the great mother goddess of Set. So the whole program, the whole philosophy, the whole program is laid out. You see this figure here, this seated figure. That's the soul of the initiate of Nua'ani. This is her soul. And her mind, and so the weighing of the heart has implications for the destiny of the soul. That's what is being said. And if she is found to be righteous and true, her heart lighter than a feather of moth, then she joins Asar. He's holding a crook. So he's the shepherd of the flock. So he's the shepherd of the souls that discover their transcendental nature. So he leads the flock to the Supreme Spirit. And then if we go on, you see the rest of the process. You see her here making adorations in the dual posture. You see her over here, dual posture. So she's doing all of this. See her here again. And these are like in the second yadu, the regions of the upper heavenly planes. You see her here again. She's offering an ankh with the with shu. Here the 42 assessors, ma, and here she is at the end. So you can see how long these papers are. And if anything, this is how they should be displayed rightly. And then I have a bonus. So stop share. And this is to give an idea of how the temples look. Stop share. To give an idea of like when a temple is, it keeps popping up this way. Okay, so when a temple is freshly painted, and this is a temple of Dendor that's held in the Metropolitan Museum as well, and they do a light projection on the temple to show what these images may have looked like when they were first freshly painted. And they moved this temple from Kemet to here to save it when they were building dams. And you can see how colorful the text is, how beautiful the arrangements are, etc. So what we see today are, because of so many years have passed on, the paint has fallen off, etc. And then one last thing, and so this is Huru, and this is Heteru back here, and this is the royal. He's giving an offering of like wine, arepi, to vessels of wine, but don't think of it as distilled wine like today that makes you tipsy or cause you to get drunk or anything like that. It's more of like a fermented kind of drink that is not potent in distilled alcohol. So one last thing as a so keep in mind, coming up, we're going to have a profound presentation on the temple and tomb of Ramses III. And what we're going to do is we're going to examine the temple of Medina Habu, which is the temple that was constructed by him, and his tomb, KB11. It's going to be September 19th to the 22nd. And to join, you go to Comedic Yoga Association .com, and you click on a button that says more, and you find Ramses III, and you click on that. But in any way, we're going to be discussing. So that's the way to sign up for it. And we're going to be discussing the spiritual process that is associated with through his temple. You see here, he's giving an offering of incense. And what does that all mean? An offering with incense while wearing the blue crown, Keperesh, with a raised Urias. So a battle is going on, and we're going to discuss what that battle is and what is being fought against. And it's going to be 4 days. We're going to do it around the solar equinox. And this is not random. I chose this time period because it coincides to when the Opet festival was performed in ancient times. So it's going to be like a mini Opet festival. And so we're going to have a lecture presentation on what the Opet festival is, what it means, how it relates to you as a human being. And so we're going to select panels from the temple and select panels from the tomb, which is located in the Valley of the Kings. And there's a whole mystic philosophy, vast mystic philosophy in the tomb. And we won't be able to get to all of it, but we'll get to the nectar, the high points, the takeaways, etc. And discuss those profound issues of spiritual evolution of a human being and what it means to you and how you can use these teachings and this knowledge to have a positive effect on one's own life, and to discover true peace and inner calm and tranquility, and to also resolve certain issues related to lost tradition and genealogy and those kinds of things through the process. We won't be focused on those so much. We'll be focused on what the temple says and what the tomb says and how that relates to us and how that allows us to move and grow spiritually and discover that inner calm that is so essential to well-being and transcendental exploration. So it's going to be a wonderful presentation, very affordable, and so it's going to be very nice. So dua everyone, and once again, a dua for a nice devotional, and dua for his session, and for Tem for joining in, and will be here with us week to week. Okay, are there any questions? I know it's early. Okay, dua everyone. Till we meet again. Hit